Good evening, everyone. Good to see all of you here this evening. Before I get going, let me take just a sip of water here. So this evening, I'm going to be sharing with you the work that we did in Cameroon. Let me just first say that, the work in Cameroon is no more important than the work that we're doing in the Ukraine or in Kenya or in Guatemala or any of those various places. It's just a part that I'm a part of more intimately along with Lori. And it's like one of the longest trips that we make in our congregation in terms of mission work. Anyway, I'm going to share with you a number of things here. When you talk about going to Cameroon, there's a little bit of a paradox there. People will say, well, how come you don't have a tan on, and face is not a little bit burned? Well, that's the part of the paradox. The paradox is that Cameroon is really exciting and Cameroon is really boring to some degree. It's exciting because you get to go to a different culture and you're in a giant city and there's a lot of busyness going on all around you, a lot of life that is happening. So that's exciting. It's exciting getting to be with brethren and to be able to teach them and to watch them grow and to watch them grow over the years that we've been going to Cameroon. I think I've done a little over 20 trips. Lori has done 6 of them. And to watch the growth that they have done, that's exciting. The boring part is that when we are not teaching at the church building, we're in our room. And some of the reason is because where our hotel is not really in the best part of town, and because you're or white guys, man and woman, we kind of stick out like a sore thumb, and we become maybe a target for maybe being robbed or something like that. And so we really don't get out on the road very much, except for traveling from the hotel to the church building where we teach classes, and then back again. And seriously, that's what happens. And so we spent a lot of time in our hotel room this year. And I've decided that if the Lord allows it and we're able to go back in 2027, then I'm going to tell Jim, give me some money and I'm going to go out and run around a little bit, catch a taxi and run around. But when you see some of the pictures, you'll see why it's kind of scary to get out and run around. So here is the effort that we went on here. The seminars are about doing some intensive training that's conducted over a 5-day period to the English side and to the French side. There, as you know, in Cameroon, a third of it is English or British, and then 2/3 of it is French. So we do a seminar for the French side, we do a seminar for the English side that come to us, and we do some teaching. And it's really some good stuff. There's about 210 congregations in Cameroon. We support there's 16 men that are supported in Cameroon on a full-time basis. Congregations are just very poor to do it, and so you have some 16 full-time guys, and everyone else is itinerants. That is, they farm, they are merchants, they side businesses that they are doing, and then they preach on the side, if you will. That's kind of what they do. Most congregations have adequate songbooks. A lot of them don't have Bibles. The membership is diverse in terms of age: children, teenagers, elderly, all ages in between. And so there are some preachers there that are trained that go to some of the Bible schools that are there. Some of them used to go up in Nigeria. Some went over into Ghana to Kumasi Bible College. Today in Cameroon, they have a couple of schools of preaching that are there that are overseen by the Bear Valley Bible Institute of Denver, Bear Valley Bible Preacher School. And they have a school in Watutu, and then about a 30-mile drive away from that is Banga. Banga is the school for the French, and Watutu is the school for the English. And so some of the men are trained, but a lot of them, once they get out into the field and go to congregations, they're not able to afford them, and so they find themselves back farming or doing whatever business they were doing before, and they become, in essence, itinerant preachers. The majority of the congregation in Cameroon are not super strong. If you go over to the English side and get up into the far north of the country itself, there's a lot of illiteracy that is there, and so they're not able to read their Bibles. They're not able to study as, say, we get the opportunities here in our congregation. So there's some spiritual weakness that is there, and then when you combine that with the level of poverty that they have, it doesn't allow for preachers to be supported, and like I said, they turn back into doing some other things. But and when I talk about the level of poverty, for us, it's hard to really see it or to feel it. But the poverty there is huge. It's like 78% of the population are unemployed. You have the very rich, and then you have a giant gap, and then you have a lot poor people who are in poverty. And so their plans forever retiring are even not in their minds whatsoever. They live from day to day. They're what you would call subsistence livers living, and that's how they go through their lives. These seminars that we have been doing since 1999 in Cameroon have been incredible in terms of the growth of the congregation. I'm not saying that we've had everything to do with it, but we've played a role in it in helping the church to grow. When we first started going there in 1999, they didn't have any ladies classes. They had no children's Bible classes whatsoever. Basically just met on a Sunday morning, maybe Sunday evenings, and that was it. And so through leadership training and some other things, they now have ladies' Bible classes. They have children's classes throughout the country and a lot of the congregations. And of course, they're growing. They have seminars on themselves. They do workshops. They do youth rallies. They do a lot of things that they didn't do before, and now they're doing a lot of that. So they are growing in terms of their spirituality and in their abilities. So it's been really great. This, of course, the team with Lori, and I wonder if you think we could maybe turn down the lights so you can see that. Can you guys see that really well? I guess it's pretty good. Okay. And the seminar lessons were really simple. Lori, she taught a class called Having a Heart Like Jesus, and then she had these devotionals that she did every day with the ladies that lasted about 45 minutes, where she talked about the fact that God is so good, and she used Psalm 139 to do so. I taught the men how to do expository preaching, the mechanics of it. The mechanics of preaching is the same whether you are preaching a topical sermon or a textual sermon or an expository sermon. It's just what drives the sermon. But basically, the mechanics of preaching is you help them to develop a theme, a proposition, the main points, a conclusion, and then an introduction. And as I teach them, we go through it in a workshop. So I lecture for a while, then I give them assignments, and they do, like for instance, they'll present their theme and proposition, and then show why they chose that theme and proposition from a particular text. And then say the next day we'll teach on how to do the main points, and they'll work together on developing main points, and then they'll do presentations, and I'll do some critique, and then we'll do conclusions, and then I'll lecture on that, and then they'll present them, and I'll critique them, and then we do introductions. So we develop a sermon together with one another, and they're taught how to do an sermon. An expository sermon is nothing more than a sermon that is completely driven by the text itself. And if you're here this morning, well, I did an expository sermon out of Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 3, and that was an expository sermon where I broke down each of those passages of Scripture and shared them with you. Jim did a class on leadership style of Jesus, and his class is the combined class of both men and women, so it's a larger class. And one of the things that Jim is trying to accomplish in his classes is, and he's done this since we've been going there, and that is he's trying to really impress upon them the need to really think outside the box, and don't look for just the Church of Christ answers, but look for the answers that are found in the Scripture. Use your brains, think, for yourself, and don't just be told what to think or what to believe, but you become thinkers. And so they do a lot of thinking. They ask a lot of questions, and it's always very good for them. And so he's developed them and helped develop them into people who are good Bible students and those who think through the passages of Scripture that he is teaching them. So Lori and I, we left on Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning, and then 31 hours later, we arrived in Cameroon. We got there, we left Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning, our time, and we arrived in Douala, Cameroon, at a little after about 10:20 their time. We got our luggage collected after going through checks for our visas and our international inoculation card to make sure that we had all of our shots, checking our temperature, doing all those things. We collected all of our luggage. Lori and I carry about 300 pounds of luggage when we go there. Seriously, we carry 4 bags that are about 50 pounds each, and then a couple of carry-ons and backpacks. So it's a lot of weight, but we end up in Douala. Douala is a country of about a city of about 5 million people. That was the 2023 count. And then if you look at back to 2020, I think was the last time they did the nationwide, they have 27 million that's in that country in Cameroon. So Douala is a very busy city. We finally got to our room at night, and these are some pictures that look out. We were kind of on the back side of the hotel, away from the main road. There's a reason for that, because that main road is super loud, and that's the view that we have. And so when we talk about being in the tropics, well, that was our tropics right there. When you talk about taking up space for people to live in, did you hear this morning where they talked about over in Kenya, they're struggling with squatters? Well, that's real in almost all the African nations. It certainly is true of Douala. If there is an empty space that is there, someone's going to live on it. Someone's going to squat on it. And so if you were to look down from our room, which is a two-story, or was at the second story of the building itself, and look down, what you see just a sea of houses that are just all brought together, and you see just a sea of corrugated tin roofs that are there, and under all those roofs are multiple families that are living in those quarters there. That's a little bit of a blow-up picture of what you see at a little bit at a distance. So on the first day when we get there, which is Friday is the day that we start working, is we go out and we shop for the seminar, or is that Saturday? We shop for the seminar, and so there is a store there that sells office equipment, and we go and we buy name badges that we have to put together in our rooms, and we buy paper for them to write on, and erasers and whiteboard markers, and just a whole bunch of things that we walk out of that place with. But we're buying all those things, and that's John Claude, that is with Jim Corner, who is the leader of the trip that is there. The first Sunday that we were there, Lori went to Cité de la Paix. I wasn't with her, so I couldn't take pictures, but I went to a little congregation called Logpone. The Logpone, as you can see from the pictures behind me, is a pretty small congregation, and you see their churchmen there, and you see the corrugated tin roofs that are over their building there. It's got wood, it has a foundation, but it just has wood sides. And most likely, the city will only allow them to be like that for a while, and pretty soon the city might come in there, and through the police or the gendarme, they might just tear it down and say, build something permanent or we're going to take it down. So sometimes the way they do it is they put a red X on it, and then that thing is burned down or torn down. And so eventually they're going to have to put a foundation up. But at least they have a roof over their building there. But that's the congregation of the people there. They're mixed ages, a lot of children, and so on. These are just some pictures to kind of give you a taste of what you see when you walk out there. We were laying in bed the other night, and I told Lori, I said, did you hear that? She goes, hear what? I said, nothing. Nothing. I mean, it's super quiet in here. You get adjusted to the noise, and then you come home, and it's so deathly quiet. But from early in the morning, around 5 o'clock, to about 2 in the morning, it's just busy. Horns honking all over the place, traffic noise, loud music being played, blared over amplified speakers, people talking. I mean, there's just all kinds of noise that is there. The little cab that you see up there on your left is a typical cab, and that's generally what we'll ride around in. You know, when we go from one place to the other, is we ride in a cab like that, and the traffic that is there. I was telling one of our young men this morning who was a lineman, I said, you need to come tonight and see what a real lineman's work looks like, you know. Because that's looking out of the front of the first story of the Hotel Lawat that we were staying in. And I took a picture of some traffic, and I just thought, man, look at that. There, that's a mess. This is just some traffic. And it's like that every day. From morning to evening, it's like that. Just constant traffic. And there are times when we have to catch a cab. To catch a cab, you got to go to the other side of the street. So we're on this side, you got to pass to the other side of the street. And so you can't really wait for a break. You just have to kind of go out there and do this and hope they stop. But that's the traffic. This fella here his name is Joseph. Joseph is from the far north is where he lives, but he now lives in Douala. He is going for his doctor's degree. And so he's went through the master's, he's got his master's degree. Now he's in med school. And so he is going to be a doctor. He speaks numerous languages. When he doesn't have classes, he has purchased a cab and he drives a cab, or he rents it out for a business to drive it, and then he gets a take from that. He also is the person who watches over the church building at Cité de la Paix. He makes sure that no one's breaking into it, that the sound system is taken care of. And so you'll see some of his sleeping arrangements here a little bit. But he is a tremendous young man, super smart. Jean-Claude said about him, he says, that boy is ugly, but he is so smart. These are the student sleeping arrangements. So you kind of get an idea of how they sleep. The students that come to us from the English side, like I said, they have lots of poverty. We help them travel to us, by the way. When they get there, they don't go out and get hotel rooms or anything like that. They sleep inside the church building or the hall and on cement floor, and they rent these foam rubber mats like this, and they put them on the floor. And also in the upstairs of the building, partial upstairs of the building, where the men sleep, and downstairs where Lori teaches her class, that's where the women sleep. So they separate the two. Sometimes when I would show up there in the morning, we walk in there, we have showered, we are clean and all those things, and we walk in, they'll say, how was your night? And you'll say, I can't tell you how I think my night really is, because someone says, well, what's the hotel like? The best I can describe a hotel lot is it's like a Motel 2. I mean, it's really, but we have an air conditioner. The bed is super hard, but we have an air conditioner. And you don't want to say to them, the bed's hard, didn't sleep real well, because they're sleeping on mats inside a building, no air conditioning. It's super warm, they're hot, and mosquitoes. So you say, how was your night? And they'll say, oh, it was warm. But we were blessed. We had a place to sleep, lots of mosquitoes. So it's just different there. This first seminar on the English side, where the men's class averaged around 45, the women's class averaged 49, and then Jim's class combined averaged 94 in attendance. This is the English side ladies class that Lori taught here. And so those just kind of give you an idea of the ladies that were there. I'm teaching when she's teaching down below, and so I don't get to take pictures, so Jim goes down and takes some pictures for us. Remember I was talking about Diana Maudai. She's the lady who takes care of the Maudai's orphanage in Kumba. That's her on your right there, or on your left, I guess. She is an incredible woman. She has 42 children now in her orphanage. She raises them from little bitty babies when they leave them on their doorstep all the way to adults. And she's been doing that for a lot of years. Lori's teaching class here. This is the English side for the preachers that I taught. And this is the guys that I've known, some of these guys for well over 28 years, something like that. You notice the arrows that are pointing to the guys. You really can't see them very well here, and I wish there is a bigger picture. But these are the guys that, remember I tell you that I usually, when we go there, I try to stipend some of the preachers. I stipend 18 preachers, and so these are the men that I've got arrows pointed down to that I stipend. I gave them each $200 that they can spread out over the next 2 years, but $200. It's not very much, but to them it's a lot. Vincent is there. William Ninsaw, that's this guy like right here. William, he is a graduate of Harding University. He went over and got his education. He came back, and he's been at Kumba for as many years as I can think now. He is an incredible man. This man is at Cockatoo, and his name is Toko William. This is Carl here. This is Andrew Maliki. He's at Smallacombe. This is Nicholas. We support Nicholas. Right here is Dennis. We support Dennis. So all these men are guys that came to the class to be taught on how to do expository preaching, and those are some of the men that we support. The Bible class for the English class is that I was teaching them how to break down a sermon. And if you were here this morning, you might recognize the sermon if you were able to see it. We worked on Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. And then I give them like another 6 or so expository outlines for them to take with them when they go. But we all work together on this and correct one another. And it's interesting how we all come down in almost the same place, maybe with a few nuances in terms of how I might address a title as compared, or a major point as compared to how they might do it. But they're really pretty good at what they do. This guy's name is Prosper. He's one of our village preachers. Gary, I'm going to ask you, I hope this works here. I'm going to ask you if you can maybe turn up the sound a little bit. And this will give you an idea. Every time when we are teaching, I usually give them like 10-minute breaks a couple times in the morning. And when they go out and have their break, and when we bring them back in, we bring them back in singing and Prosper. Hallelujah.
c'est Dieu me donne ça. Oui, c'est Dieu me donne la foi. C'est Dieu est bon pour moi. Alléluia.
Hey, Prosper, that guy can lead singing, let me tell you. In fact, several guys are really good at getting him singing. And this is probably what was one of the better ones, but he's sometimes can really get those guys going. And if they don't sing, he's doing this here, getting them to sing, and man, he really gets them cooking. It's really interesting to watch and so forth. This is Jim's class in the afternoon. And so he has a larger class, around 100. Sometimes it could get up to 130, but the average is like 94. And this is Jim teaching his class. And man, I'm telling you what, it's hot inside that hall. And I'll have some pictures. See him on the right there, or on your left? You see the dark place? That's not the color of his shirt. That's he's sweating. So it's really hot in that place. So it's like 92, 93 outside, 87% humidity. That's a corrugated tin roof, and the sun beats on it, so it can get above 92 degrees inside there. And that's true of Sunday morning and Sunday, that's true of in the morning teaching as well as in the afternoon teaching. By 9, 10 o'clock, it is hot inside that hall. Lori can attest to that. She's done her share of sweating in that place as well. This again is just a picture of Jim and Lori. We sit and listen to Jim teach in the afternoon, okay? First time through, it's pretty exciting. We haven't heard it before. Second time through, it's terrible. I mean, because you've already heard it, so you're listening. And so I usually spend time writing sermons and things like that while he's teaching. But anyway, so that's a picture of Lori like, it's hot. And then there's one, she's smiling. But you can tell how hot it is from looking at Jim's shirt. Inside the building, they have a water fountain. They have a jug that they refill over and over again. They have a little pump that sets on top of that. That's new. I'd never seen that before in the congregation there. But they had a water fountain that is there for clean water. And the one on your left there is from the top looking down at a water station where with that area of the people there, they don't have running water, so they come there for clean running water, and they bring it back to use it for drinking. They use it for, I think we watched one lady she cleaned fish in a black bucket. She washed her feet in the black bucket, and she did clothes in the black bucket. Same black bucket, different water obviously, but anyway. This was a typical dinner. Someone asked you, how well did you eat over there? Well, you can kind of see what we ate over there. The ones on your right, I think that was one of the afternoons. The way we eat over there is that every other day we eat in the hotel room, and then every other day we eat at a restaurant. The restaurant, limited stuff. What do you want? What would you like? I'll have a chicken and some rice. I'll have some spaghetti bolognese. Sometimes you get feeling risky and you'll say, I would like a salad. But you're not sure what they wash the salad with, but you just got to have something different than a chicken and a spaghetti. So anyway, you almost look forward to seeing that stuff. But anyway, so that was a typical afternoon meal. Usually don't do breakfast, you don't do evenings. I think the one on your left was an evening dinner that Lori and I had. I think I had beanie weenies, and she had some tuna, and I think we threw in it some cheese and crackers and a drink. Nice, huh? Okay, so this is a picture of just the guy in the middle is going down the road with a sack of potatoes on the back of his machine. And then the one on the left is just a picture of a person that's on the side of the road that is selling different kinds of fruits and vegetables. Also along the way, you'll see places like some flower gardens that are there where someone is raising flowers and selling. I asked John Claude, I said, do you ever stop at one of these flower places and bought some flowers? He goes, what for? What am I going to use flowers for? So only rich people buy flowers. The most people, they never buy flowers there because they just don't. This is just a busy day driving by, and this is a market that is open. When we're driving from our hotel to the church building, we drive by things like this here. So you can see some of the vegetables that are on the ground that they're selling. Oil, bread. Cité de la Paix, the second Sunday I was there, I taught in the morning, and this gives you an idea. Cité de la Paix's congregation are probably around 200 or so. When I first started going there, they're like 38, and now they've grown quite a bit. They're well into I think they're like 220, something like that. And they have built their building on their own. They raised the building up. And so it started down very low in a basement-like place where they worshiped. And you've seen pictures of it. You just probably don't remember. Then they did the second story of it. And then they have a third story that's where their sound equipment is and where people sleep. And these are the congregation as they're worshiping. I thought this one here was really sweet here. The little girl's praying. And this is a sound room, and so our sound people back there, that's what their sound room looks like. They have a PowerPoint at Cité de la Paix. I didn't know that, but they had a PowerPoint that is there. And so when I was up there and was trying to get them to plug in a PowerPoint that I brought along just in case, they bring all their stuff out, set it all up, and pretty cool thing. These are Bible classes that were going on that Lori participated in. This is Cité de la Paix is on the French side. And so Cité de la Paix is probably the larger congregation, and it is the largest congregation on the French side. Kumbatown is the largest on the English side. This is Lori teaching a class, and she's teaching them this little Christian light of mine, and she's using little tea candles, and they love that, getting able to do that. And so these are just outside the building. If you were to walk outside the church door and go to the left, then that is where a number of people just have merchants along there. And so there is a barber shop for men there, then there's a beauty parlor there, and then there's a seamstress that is there, and that kind of stuff. And these are some little kids that are coming home from school, and they're getting ready to go up there. They're going to take a right and go down inside that subdivision, if that's what you would call it. These are some children right below the church building that I saw them, and Lori went over and got a picture of them, and they were down there playing soccer with it looked like it was a stuffed cat. Was it like a stuffed rounded cat or something like that, and they were kicking that thing around and so forth. But anyway, down below is right across the entry for the lower part of the church building. These people are across the way, and she has a small business there that people come and buy different kinds of things from her. We're trying to cross the street here, and that's the kind of traffic, and we're trying to cross the street to go across a Meridian to go to where our hotel is. But it's busy, it's super busy there. I just thought that was kind of interesting. This is on one of the main roads as we were going to the building. More traffic. This is the beauty parlor. So if you wanted to have your hair done, you would go inside this, and that beauty parlor, it's probably like I think I'd be generous if I said it was a 10 by 10 room. More like probably like an 8 by 8 foot room that she's in there. And so she's got stuff all along, that's on like say the south wall, and then on the east wall she's got product all along there, and then behind there's more product, and then there's the opening to the beauty parlor. Second seminar is almost the exact same numbers, 45, 49, 94. Again, that picture there is a picture that's what Cité de la Paix looks like, the front of their building. If you move forward about 20 feet from the opening of the church building is an open sewer. And so in Cameroon, they don't have underground sewer, everything's open sewered, okay? And so it's dry season now, so everything that goes down the sewer stays there until they're waiting for the rainy season, and the monsoons, and it'll flush it all out into the Atlantic Ocean and so forth. But it's right there, and I think it was, who was it? I think Rhonda Patterson says, she goes, "Do you step over that?" I said, "Well, yeah, how else am I going to get from one side to the next? You got to step over it, you know." This is French side lady class. This is a couple of ladies that are that's Florence and Marie is standing beside Lori. That's couple of her students. Her husband, Marie's husband, the lady in the yellow, that's Marie. Her husband's name is Pierre, and he is a French side preacher, and he preaches up towards the north of Cameroon. So he's out there on like an island by himself. He's way up there. This is Nadesh. Her husband's name is Simon Parfait. And Simone is the preacher in Yaoundé, one of the preachers in, there's several congregations in Yaoundé, but he's the preacher in one of them. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. These are the French side preachers, and the circles around them are all the men that we gave a stipend. This here is Daniel. This is Julian Basim. Julian is the preacher. He was at Dakar, but now there's another congregation that he's a part of. His house burned down. His next door neighbor's house caught on fire. His whole house burned down. Everything was burned down. He had a motorcycle, burned everything. So he was out without everything. And so I stipend him $500 instead of $200. I stipend him $500. Louis Bassai, we've had him here preach before. He's my translator. He's great. Jean-Claude Ete is there. This here is Roderick. Over here that's Simon Parfait. And then this is Paul. This is Jean-Claude's brother, Paul. And that was Prosper that you heard preach. So those are some of the guys that are there. This here was a school of Banga. They sent their students over to hear me teach on expository preaching. But these are all men that are preparing themselves. That's a picture of Louis Bassai. Louis, he came over to America. We've helped Louis out a lot. He and Linda over the years. We helped pay for their bride price. Over there, the men have to pay a bride price for a wife. They have to pay for their wife and so forth. So we help with his bride price. His first daughter, Lori Angela, named after Lori, and a guy by the name of Chris Roll's wife, Angie. She was named after them. We helped with the birth of a cesarean section for Lori Angela. We helped Louis at his church building at Bonaberry. We helped when he went to Harding for about 2.5 years. We supported him while he was there, and now he's back in Cameroon and is doing an incredible job. But he has all kinds of talents and abilities. These are the men being taught once again in my class. This is Pierre that stood up, and Pierre, whenever you'd ask a question, he always had questions or something to say. But he was a pretty impressive young guy. This is Jim teaching in his class here. Here's an idea of what it sounds like if you're sitting in a class that Jim is teaching.
Nous l'entrons sur Acte 8.
And what took place when they went everywhere preaching the word.
Et ce qui s'est passé quand ils sont allés d'un lieu à l'autre, prêchant l'évangile.
If you want your assembly to grow,
Si vous voulez que votre congrégation
they will be evangelists. They will be evangelists.
et ils vont faire l'évangélisation,
But also you be working with them to disciple them.
mais aussi vous également travaillez avec eux pour faire d'eux des disciples.
Help them grow stronger.
Aidez-les à grandir, à devenir plus forts.
So everything we do there, it's translated. On the English side, it's translated because they translate it into Pidgin English. If you're on the French side, they translate everything into French. Did you understand any of that, Charles? None? Is it because you couldn't hear it? Okay. Yeah, well, imagine if you were me sitting there and listening. Yeah, okay. This is a picture of the the French side. I don't know why we didn't get an English side picture, but these are all those who came to the seminar from the French side up front. And so this is both men and women that had a part in that. At the end of the seminar, we taught, at the end of the 2 seminars, they had a going away for us. They always do this, and in the going away, the ladies sing the song, they march from the back. A bunch of them, they sing to us all the way up to the front, and then they come up front and they give us gifts. And so they gave us like shirts to wear. You probably noticed my shirt here. They never make these right for me. They always make them too small. And I think the reason why they make them too small is they don't take into account my length. And so they're always too tight. I don't think they know how thick I am or something. I don't know what the deal is. Because this one here, Brother Coombe is a tailor that was at the seminar, and so I had him make me a couple shirts. And he measured me and did everything. He made this shirt. He measured it and did everything to it, and it still was tight, but I thought, well, I'll just wear it and lose 15 pounds. It'll fit perfectly. Anyway, they gave Lori a dress, and she wouldn't wear it tonight. I tried to get her to wear that dress tonight, and she wouldn't do it because it's pretty sacky looking. But anyway. But most of the time, they gave us a shirt, and I can't wear it. It's too small for me. And it's a beautiful shirt. It's a white shirt with an Africa continent on it. It's a beautiful shirt. Okay, let me move through this. Later on, you're going to see that we spent a lot of money on a study material for New Age for the children. And this is all the material that has been placed up there for the students to take with them. So each congregation that is represented, which were 48 congregations, they'll each take one of those, that stack of literature, and they'll take it back to their congregation to use. So that's what's going on there. The last Sunday that I was there before we got ready to leave was I preached in a place called Bamono. Bamono is a place where Louis Basai works. He works 2 weeks in Bamono and 2 weeks in Bonaberry. He does a podcast, a radio show, and a bunch of other things. But this is the Bamono congregation. And I want you to see that's their church building there. It is a wooden building, which means that it could be torn down. And if you look on your left, they're making blocks. They're getting ready to build walls for that church building. And so those are blocks that are being made. They have bought a cement block form. They buy the sand, the cement, rocks, and then they make those blocks one at a time, and they just keep making them and stacking them until the day that they start building a building. And this is the outside of the building. This is Lori walking across over towards a rubber tree plantation that is there. This is inside the congregation, and so it's pretty full. It had a good crowd of people that were there that day. This is me preaching with Louis. He is taught as well as preaching. He is doing the translating for me. This is Lori teaching the children's class while I was teaching the adult class. And this is the congregation, and I think there's probably at least 5 families that are missing from that for some reason. I don't know why. And this is a picture of Lori and Linda Basai's family. They have 2 of Linda's sister's children because their parents are away in another country for a little bit. But so they're watching them, and that was a picture of them. Beautiful little family. At the end of the work, Jim took us out to dinner, and he took Louis Basai and Linda, and he took Jean-Claude and Mary, and we went to a really nice, it's kind of like a smorgasbord restaurant thing on the rich side of town, and it was really nice. But these are just great, hard workers for the kingdom. Cameroon Mission, tremendous hardships. The members of the Lord's body really struggle. Preachers, housing is huge, and especially when it comes to preachers are expected to take care of the indigenous people who are fleeing from the crises. I've told you that in Cameroon they're in a civil war now. It's lightened up a little bit, but not a whole lot. So they're in a civil war. A lot of the church buildings have been burned down. Villages have been burned down. Homes have been burned down. People have been shot. All kinds of terrible things have happened. And the result of that is that the church is caught in between the secessionists and the army. And so a lot of them have fled to the French side of the country, and they're in congregations being taken care of by the membership and a lot of times by the ministers that are there. This is Ma Dai's orphanage. Obviously, we're not able to go over there because it's on the English side, but that's a sign outside the orphanage that is there. There's a picture of Laura and I took at Cité de la Paix with Ma Diane there. As I mentioned to you, Ma Dai has over 42 children in it. I left $4,000 for them. So $4,000 was given to them. We give them $1,000 every 6 months. Every 6 months, they'll get $1,000 for clothing, Bibles, mostly food, and then a small stipend for Diana. And that's, we've almost went through and said, here's how much money each of those things need to go into. And so she gives a report and all those things. So we left $4,000 behind for the orphanage. A lot of you who gave money said, we want this to go to the orphanage. So that's where it went. This here is, these are the guys that we support. So I just wanted you to be able to see them. But so there is Ntangui Etienne Nicholas that is there, that is at Kambe. Tata Dennis, who is at I just drew a blank, Tombell, and then Vincent is at Mayuka. Now, we don't support, as a congregation, Vincent, but Jim and Tricia Welch do support Vincent, and he is a great worker. Whenever we do roofs, we send Vincent. He goes there, looks at the congregation, makes sure they have the foundation, their walls are up, their trusses are up, and then he decides whether we should spend the money on putting a roof on zincs, and then he takes the zincs to them. He doesn't give them the money because his worry is that something serious might come up where they want to spend the money on something other than the roof. And so we call it eating the money. So he takes the zincs to them, so it's made sure that it's used well. So here's what we spent the money on. Here's what we spent, and you'll see what we totaled. We helped Maudai's orphanage for $4,000. We stipend 18 preachers, $3,900. IDPs are independent displaced persons. That's those people I was telling you about that have been burned out. And so they have a committee of about 7 or 8 men, and they come together and they decide how that money is apportioned out to those different places that are helping with these displaced people. And so we left behind $35.59 is what we left behind. We bought Bibles as well as left money to buy Bibles for about $1,400 is what we did. A number of you said we want our money to go to Bibles, so that's where I try to direct the money is $1,400 towards Bibles. We took five of those really nice Thompson chain NIVs that I think they sell for like $270 something, and we're able to buy 5 of them for like $46 each. So we packed those over and gave them to. We gave one to Nicholas, to Tata Dennis, to Thaddeus. Thaddeus is a preacher. When Thaddeus got it, I didn't stipend him, but I gave him that Bible. He all but fell on his knees, started crying. He goes, I've been praying so much for a Bible, because his Bible's a mess. And he was so thankful. So I gave 5 different men Bibles, these really nice Bibles, and we bought Bible covers for them to put them in so they stay made of Cordura, nice nylon that will keep them protected. Village preachers, these are men that we used to have 4, we only have 3 now, 1 died. And these are guys like Prosper, and they serve 2 to 3 congregations on a Sunday. And so this is paying for just their travel expenses is what that money's for there. Medical and surgery needs, we did $600. That was for John Beecham and another man by the name of Suffolk Paul. They were in some terrible motor accidents and needed some help, and so we gave them each $300 each to help alleviate some of that. The children's curriculum, as I told you at the beginning, they didn't have any kind of children's material. They've developed it, and now they've done the grade of kinder through 6, and now they're developing the upper grades. And so we left behind $2,000 for the children's curriculum to develop it, to have it printed, and get it distributed. We helped pay for a roof on a church building, and also that was Bakoki Membange. We left $2,000 for them to put a roof on a church building, and we gave Kambe. Kambe is where Nicholas is, and Kambe was worshiping on a porch of a church these people's house. So they built in the building. They put their foundation in. They put the walls up, cinder block walls up. They plastered it. They put the trusses in, and they did the zincs themselves. And he says the only thing that's keeping us from getting inside our building now is we need to have doors and windows. When you say doors and windows, those windows are not windows like you think of. They're not even shut. They're bars. They're sometimes pretty bars, but there's bars over the windows because if they can't use their building properly unless it's thief-proofed. Because if they put pews in there, benches, wood benches, people will steal them out of there. If they put a fan in there, they'll steal the fan. Songbooks left in there, steal the songbooks. Put a light bulb in there, they'll steal the light bulb. They'll steal everything that's in there. They'll steal out of it. So they had to have windows and doors, and they were less this $1,491 to get that done. And so I left them money. I didn't have time because I just got the pictures just the other day. But he showed me pictures of them, the guy welding and getting them ready to go, and so they can start installing them. So total that we spent on this mission trip was $19,400. And that was all money that you all gave. I mean, you were so over the top, overwhelmingly generous for this. I think I said to you, you made a lot of people smile. I mean, this goes so, you can't believe how much this affects them, especially with Maudai's orphanage and those 18 preachers. Those guys, I respect them so much. Those guys are out on an island. I mean, they're out in the middle of jungles. They're out in the middle of way up north and places that you cannot even imagine, and they're by themselves. You know, and they have a congregation that they don't have elders. They oversee those congregations and direct them and guide them. They sacrifice so much. I mean, those men are incredible, what they do. And that's why I always try to give them some money from you. By the way, I don't tell them this is me giving them money. I bring them into a room by themselves. I give them an envelope full of money with a thing saying to them, look, this is not from me. I'm not the truck. This is not from me. This is from my congregation. They're the ones that have given this money to you. And they just wanted to tell you that they appreciate the hard work that you're doing. Keep going, and so we tell them those kinds of things. 48 congregations were represented at this year's seminar. We taught 376 participants. That's a lot of people. So we're getting ready to go home here, and so we've packed up and we're getting ready to leave. We left home. We stopped over on the way home. We stopped over on the way home and did a few days in London and saw some sights there. And then we flew home. It was about almost a 10-hour trip home. But we got home, and when we flew in, it was late at night, and our grandchildren and their parents welcomed us home. And it was super great to see them. We're walking down the causeway, and Lori sees them, and she just starts crying, and because she is so happy to be back in America. The only thing she didn't do is fall down on her knees and kiss the ground. But she was really happy to be home. So a big heartfelt thanks to all of you for making this mission trip possible. Your generosity was so over the top, and so many people were blessed because of it. You'll never know how much that money means to them, for them to be supported and encouraged to keep it on. So God bless you, and thank you so much for being a part of this. Let's sing, and we'll have an invitation. If you need to respond for whatever reason, you'd have an opportunity to do so.